area.
Order. Question number 4, Lae Wha Amulia, Asenati Lole-Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order.
My question is to the Minister of Consumer Affairs. Does he believe he is doing all he can to protect consumers, particularly vulnerable low-income families?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The government has taken a number of steps to protect consumers, particularly vulnerable low-income families. The passage of the Consumer Law Reform Bill protects consumers by giving more protection under the Consumer Guarantees Act and implementing unfair contract provisions so consumers don't get stung. The Commerce Committee is currently considering the Credit Contracts and Financial Services Bill. This bill will help protect vulnerable low-income families by cracking down on dodgy loan sharks and helping families become more informed when making financial decisions.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Asenati Lole-Taylor.
Does he think that it is fair that vulnerable low-income families investing $50 per week are paying up to $20 a week in fees, which is 40%?
Mr. Speaker?
Honourable Craig Foss.
I'm not sure of the question. It seems like an investment financial markets question. Families investing $50 a week. I'm just not sure of the question, but Mr. Speaker, the Financial Markets Authority is available to administer investment financial issues. There's financial dispute resolution services to deal with dispute matters, as the member addresses. There have been examples recently of totally unacceptable behaviour by some in some communities with similar amounts that the member mentions, and I understand that the police have been looking into those matters.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Asenati Lole-Taylor.
Is he aware of Noah's Ark Foundation, a savings scheme scam where low-income investors can pay as much as $1,000 a year in fees on savings as little as $5,000?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Craig Foss.
No, I'm not. If the member's alleging or that sounds like some pyramid scheme or something like that, that is illegal under existing law, Mr. Speaker, and I advise that member to take those matters to the appropriate authority as soon as possible.
Supplementary question to Urarawa level.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker. Kia ora tātou. To the Minister, is he aware that most interest rates for payday lenders operating in New Zealand are between 400 and 600%? And when will he follow the lead of Australia, America, Britain, Japan, Singapore, France, Germany, Switzerland, Canada, Mexico, and almost all of South America in applying interest rate caps on payday lenders?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Craig Foss.
I thank the member for the question. That particular issue was and is part of extensive consultation on the Credit Contracts and Financial Services Bill. This and other matters are currently under consideration by the Commerce Select Committee, and I'm looking forward to their report.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Asenati Lole-Taylor.
Is the Minister aware of concerns held by Mangere Budgeting Services that investors with Noah's Ark Foundation are bound to save a minimum of $50 a week for a minimum of 5 years, a very long time for low-income families?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Craig Foss.
As I said, I'm not aware of the particular fund or whatever that is that the member describes, but I do acknowledge the Mangere Budgeting Services who participated in a forum we had recently in Auckland, and I commend them for their ongoing good work on behalf of so many in our community.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Asenati Lole-Taylor.
What will the Minister do to improve the financial literacy of some of our most vulnerable people to ensure that they do not fall prey to dastardly schemes such as this?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the member raised a very good and important issue in and around financial literacy, particularly in parts of our more vulnerable communities. I acknowledge the launch of the exchange last year, pulled together by the Retirement Commission, who are charged with financial literacy in New Zealand, which will be particularly targeting and working in communities such as I think the member is very aware of. And I look forward to participation by all sorts of community and NGO organisations as that gathers its own steam.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Asenati Lole-Taylor.
What does he have to say to Mr. and Mrs. Lilomayava, who have been saving for quite some time and who have been prevented from buying a home where they want to buy one, and subsequently, upon requesting their savings, were told they had to pay a penalty of $1,500 plus communication through legal representation only?
Mr. Speaker.
Order. Honourable Craig Foss.
I suggest that family take advice, or the member may help them, direct them to a place where they can take advice and make a complaint, because what she describes, some of it there, does sound to be quite pushing the margin of existing law.
Supplementary.
Order. Supplementary question, Te Urara Flavel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister, does he support the work of the Ministerial Committee on Poverty, and if so, when will he introduce interest rate caps to protect loan shark victims, 90% or thereabouts of whom are Māori and Pacifica?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, I do support the very good work of that ministerial committee and know that some Māori and Pacifica families are indeed vulnerable to loan sharks and predatory behaviour by some in our community, unfortunately. I know that they will be benefiting from changes in the bill that's currently before Select Committee. Issues around interest rate caps are being considered by the committee still, I understand, but I note that there was not widespread support for them in submissions, although it is still an option before the committee.
Supplementary question, Carol Beaumont.
To the Minister, why has this government not fulfilled John Key's 2011 undertaking to get tough on loan sharks, given the Hamilton Budget Service seeing 100% interest rates this year on loans to struggling families?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Craig Foss.
Mr. Speaker, this government is extremely tough on loan sharks. The bill before the committee, that in fact that member I think is on that committee, actually makes life somewhat more difficult for those that prey on the most vulnerable in our community.
Question number 5, Paul Foster-Bell.